Mr. Martin did not praise his following
I can go grab that later.
Ooh, Adrian made my neck feel magnificent. Oh, Adrian, come look back at my way and take this three-way. What? Man. My table was what they out. There you go. I didn't win. Oh,
Well, so you're cute. Other facts
he's lying.
Every time that I go to the I can be inside, the floors are open, and so I'm watching these things, I always get there. I get right up.
Well, actually,
The inside of the building is nasty, it's bad.
So that they are one
The floors are sticky and slippery.
You're taking too long. Adrian's free eats.
so that sides will all line up. So this is the white. You can take out these. Take out these white bricks.
Door.
Don't put a timer on it.
No,
Ah, yes.
Papa?
Yeah.
Hey,
I just
3 seconds, 4
the
seconds.
plan for the boys.
Yeah, well, I got the concept.
All right.
Checking notes. 5 seconds.
You want to
Check your notes.
I have notes, you just have so good.
All right, I'll start with you.
Yay.
Aiden is first.
Oh my
Almost. Hey, there we go. Look at that. Yo. Say again. 4.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Well, technically we skip from E1 to E3. E2 is an HL chapter. So E4 is really, that's fission, and we'll do that later. But it's just like one lesson. So I lump E4 in with the E5 chapter. Alright, notes, checking notes.
I mean, it's still, well, they printed it, instead of printing the front and back, they printed like all the things separately. Send it to the front. And then they printed this part too. So, like,
You didn't want to draw the
How about we go?
how long are you going to be working on that?
Uh,
I have an oral back from the break. Like a week after you come back. Did you finish your most of it? Just do some next Monday. Like, it's very
Alright, I checked all notes. Did I miss anybody for notes? Let's put those folks away, please. Our dad joke for today. Alright, my musical people. What do you call a drum major wearing Beskar armor?
Something to do with
Beskar.
Huh?
What do you call a drum major wearing Beskar armor?
Mandalorian.
You're barking up the right tree, but not quite. The Bandalorian. The Bandalorian.
I should have gotten that.
Marching band. Drum
I should
major.
have gotten that.
You heard who say it? Caden? Hey, good job. Speak up. Yes. Good job, good job. All right, we are rolling right along, guys.
Bless you.
Okay. So, announcements. We are still collecting money for students who go to Busch Gardens. So remember, the last day to pay is Sunday, November 30th. If you cannot, so some students can't see it on their school cash. So if you still want to pay, but you can't see it online, let me know. I have told the bookkeeper that there's an issue, but the bookkeeper isn't here today. So we may have to reopen things if possible, if necessary, next week on Monday, so that people can pay when they could not this week. So try, definitely by Sunday, but if you can't, let me know, and then we can try to fix things for Monday. Okay? Cool. Moving onward and upward, so we are nearing the end of the fall semester. We still have 4 more weeks left of our quarter, so this is lesson 3 out of 4 of our test cycle. So we'll have 1 more lesson after the break here. We'll have a chapter test. Of course, your IA next checkpoint, our last small checkpoint, is due next time we meet, which is next Tuesday, December 2nd. Those are the evaluation part of it. And then, a couple weeks later, your official rough draft for your IA is due. That's the one where I'm actually going to read it through, and we can talk about it, we can have a little conference, but we only get 1 conference. So if you don't turn in your IA on time, we may not have time for our little conference, and we may not, you may not be able to take advantage of my comments and advice. But I only get to give it once, so make sure to turn those things on time. The idea here is that you would want to get your IA as ready as possible. Okay? Not just, oh yeah, I know I need to fix stuff. No, fix stuff now, so that it is like as perfect as you can get it before you turn it into me so that I can give you some real let's fix things advice, okay? Because if you turn something in half done, you know what I'm going to say. Hey, you're missing this part, you're missing this part, blah, 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 blah. But you know that already. So make it a point to get your IAs as ready as possible. Again, not for this upcoming checkpoint, but in 3 weeks. So you guys can get that going. We also have a semester exam, which we will take not the week before Christmas break, but the second week before Christmas break. We'll post those days of which classes you have, which exams. We'll post that here next week, because right now you guys don't care. So, but next week you might start caring, okay? Well, hold on. Is it only 3 weeks?
Yeah, there's only gonna be 3
Yes, just 3 weeks after Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
You are right, yeah. So, yeah, that's crazy stuff. Crazy. So, yeah, so I will post the semester exam schedule for you after the break, so that you guys can see what you're taking that following week. But we don't have a whole lot of time, guys, but still lots of things, lots of points up for grabs. Yes. All right, so let's move onward and upward. We've got our activity, or rather radio activity, and that's not listening to the radio station, but rather in terms of our decay, we have rates of decay and how many counts per minute. We've kind of talked about that before, but we are still in E3. And technically there's only one equation that we need to know for today. Most of it's conceptual, even though there are mathematical relationships that we'll talk about, like half-life. But the equations, there's actually more equations that deal with activity in half-life, but those are in the HL section of E3. So that's not what we're talking about today. We'll hit that definitely after Thanksgiving break. I'm not sure if I squeezed it into the second 9 weeks, or if we're just going to keep it for after Christmas, but that's okay. But we do have probably the most famous equation of all time, E equals mc squared. That's our new equation for today. Excellent. By the way, you would think that Einstein got the Nobel Prize for that equation. He actually didn't. What he did get a Nobel Prize for was for his work on the photoelectric effect, which we'll talk about in an HL lesson sometime after Christmas. But he did not get the Nobel Prize for the E equals mc squared equation, even though it's pretty spectacular. And he came up with this equation without having the experimental data. Yeah. Think about that.
He just knew.
Because usually we have data and we fit the equation to match what the data is. But he came up with the equation before the data actually proved it true, which is pretty fantastic. All right, let me get my book open, make sure that I'm doing all of the necessary stuff here. Boom, radioactivity. All right, so lots of new words like what's activity, what's a becquerel, and how do you actually pronounce it? I don't know. Becquerel, maybe. Becquerel. I don't know where the accent on the syllable is, but it's in there somewhere. Now, it is interesting to note, though, that if we took a Geiger counter, okay, and we set it up with a radioactive source, okay, the number of counts per minute that we're going to get is what we call activity. But the activity changes over time. The more stuff we have, the higher the activity. But as time passes, as it decays, the decay rate, the activity, actually decreases as well. So let's say that we have a brand new sample of uranium-238, okay, which would cost a every penny, because that's the major fuel in fission reactions, okay? Which we'll talk about those kinds of things in reactors in a future lesson. But let's say that we have a brand spanking new pile of uranium-238, so we start measuring, and as we track the count rate, the activity, as time passes, like let's say we track it over like a week span, okay? And we're gonna see the activity decrease exponentially, actually, okay? And I did see a couple of these graphs in your notes here, but if you look on page 552, here's our graph, and this is an exponential decay graph, as in the number of, so it works two ways. It works for the activity or the decay rate, as in how many counts per minute are we measuring with our Geiger counter, okay? But it also relates the number of unstable particles that we have. So we start off with a lot, and then as time passes, that number decreases, and it decreases exponentially. Specifically, we have this concept of half-life, where the half-life is the time it takes for half of the substance to decay. So like, let's say that we have 100 grams of uranium-238, okay? After a half-life worth of time, which I don't actually remember the half-life of uranium-238, we can look it up, okay? But we don't need to know that by heart.
4.5 times 10 to the 9th power
Is uranium-238?
It says it on the
Yeah.
table right
Wow.
on the graph,
4.47.
on the same page.
Wow. Oh yeah, look at that, it's right there. So, if we start the timer with a brand new batch, all right, we would have to wait that long for half of it to decay. And then we would have to wait another that long for another half of it. So after 2 half-lives, it's now down to a quarter of what it was before. So half, quarter, eighth, 16th, because the exponential part goes by powers of 1/2. Okay, so that's the mathematical relationship that the SLs have to be concerned about. You are going to have problems that deal with integer number of half-lives, as in, like, let's say we have a 1,000 gram sample, okay? And after 5 half-lives, how much is left? Okay, so we can either go and count, okay, half, 5 times, or we could multiply by 1/2 raised to the 5th power. And it'll give you the same number, okay? So, what is it actually? 1,000 times, let's see, 25 raised to the 5th power. So, I got 31.25 grams. Okay, cool. Or you could do half 5 times. So half of 1,000, so that's 500. So that's after 1 half-life. After 2 half-lives, it's going to get down to 250. After 3 half-lives, 125. After 4 half-lives, 62.5. And after 5 half-lives, 31.25. So you could do it whichever way you want if you remember this method, or if you, or not, you can just do use your step method. But there we go. Now the HLs will have a more complicated equation that they will have, like, okay, well, what is it after 1.5 half-lives? So they would have to do those kind of calculations, but not the SLs. You just have to do the basic half-life ones. Okie dokie. So there's pictures in the book that help you get it, but that's really most of our lesson is half-lives. And then they also talk about uses of radionuclides, specifically carbon dating. Carbon dating, if you don't know, they use a radioactive or unstable isotope of carbon called carbon-14. It's got 8 neutrons, 6 protons. We might have mentioned it in class, and it's going to have a half-life of, I think, about 5,000 years. Okay, and carbon-14 is unique because as something is living on the Earth, it's going to exchange carbon dioxide in the air, right? Because we breathe in oxygen. Well, technically, we breathe in air. Most of air is nitrogen, so we don't actually use that. And small percentages of the air are oxygen and carbon dioxide. And so we breathe in air. Most of it we don't actually use, but we use some of that oxygen. Our bodies use it to, power the muscles and all that fun stuff. And then we breathe out the exhale, which is, again, mostly just air, but now a little less oxygen and a little more carbon dioxide. And as a result of that exchange of gases of the carbon dioxide, we build up a store of carbon-14. And as long as we're living, that carbon-14 is being replenished. Once we die, we stop breathing, and we no longer replenish that carbon-14 by expiring, by breathing. Is that the proper word for breathing?
Exhaling?
Expiration?
Respiration.
Respiration? Maybe. Yeah. Expiration is when your respiration ceases, right? Yeah. That's your expiration date is when you die. Yeah, so once you die, the idea here is that you have the total amount of carbon-14, and now it starts to decay, right? Now, technically, it has already started to decay before when you were alive, but your body replenishes it. So you always have like a full tank, let's say, okay? But when you die, and this works for all living things, so both creatures as well as plants, fauna and flora, okay? So once the thing dies, and then the carbon-14 starts to decay. And so the scientists can look at, something that has been buried in the ground for quite some time. They can carbon date that fossil, and they can say, okay, well, that means that it died a certain number of years ago, because they know what the half-life of carbon-14 is. So that's how they can tell how old things are. This is primarily uncontested in the scientific community, but there are some issues with carbon dating. Okay, it's like when one carbon takes another carbon out, but then they find that they actually have a girlfriend, and it's a big mess. I'm just kidding. It's a joke. Carbon dating. Yeah. So the carbon dating idea is based on a consistent exposure of radiation from the outside sources, okay? And as long as we assume that that source of radiation stays constant, then that's true. But we've seen some issues, like people have carbon dated snails that are still alive, and maybe even turtles that are still alive. And they found that these things are like, thousands of years old. It doesn't really work if they're still alive. So there are some inconsistencies with the carbon dating, but most scientists don't have a problem with it. Unlike, I don't know, just like we've talked about the global warming issue, like is it happening, is it not? If it is happening, is it just a part of the natural Earth cycle, or do we have a part in it? And if we did have a part in it, how big of a part is it? And all of that stuff. So I don't know exactly. I don't know where I land with the carbon dating. I do know this though, okay, that it's hard to get a reference point because since the half-life of carbon-14 is over 5,000 years, we don't really have anything, historically speaking, that we know for sure, without carbon dating it, is that old. So we don't have a reference point that we can confirm this to be true. So it's kind of wonky, but there you go. There are loads of other uses for these type of things. I know my wife, in the early part of our marriage, her thyroid was overactive. Yes. So she had hyperthyroidism. And what they did is they gave her a radioactive iodine pill that basically killed the thyroid. So now her thyroid doesn't make enough, so she has to take medicine each day to make sure that those levels are proper. So, hindsight, she regrets that decision. But yeah, that was the best thing that the doctors were saying back in that day. I'm not sure that's changed at all, but it could definitely be used to treat different things that are wrong with the body. But if it does, essentially it's going to kill whatever it targets. And how does it target it? That's a whole nother story where I am not knowledgeable of that at all. Like, I do know that the iodine is specifically absorbed by the thyroid, and so that's how they did that. But I don't know all of the other medical uses for that stuff as well. But you can read about it more. There's a thing called tracers that kind of go through your body, and like they want to see, okay, well, how does your digestive system work, or how does your, whatever system in your body. They can put tracers that are radioactive that'll be picked up on sensors, so that they can say, hey, what's wrong with you, and all of that stuff. And then last but not least, we have the whole E equals MC squared. Hold on, no, is that?
I don't think it's.
No, we stopped there. That's right, because the E equals MC squared is the next class. Yes. Oh, that's right, yes. I remember that last year I had these two lessons combined because we were short on time. I fixed things for this year, so I split them up. So that is the end of our lesson. Yes. Yes.
So do our notes. No, what those lessons?
To your notes.
I took notes on the 51.
Yeah, I guess I can count those for both. Yeah. If you happen to take notes on both this lesson and next lesson, so like if E equals MC squared was on your notes, I did mark that down, so feel free to come see me and I can give you those appropriate notes for next time as well. Or you can just show them next time as well. Yeah. You just show that to me next time. Yeah, let's do that. All right, guys. That's it for today. So good job. Take 5 if you need to, and then we'll work on those positive quizzes. I believe the quiz is already up. Make sure to do your quiz from last time before it closes out. Midnight tonight. Feel free to take your break. Let's see. This is not in my